Okay guys, this video initially was going to be about toxic masculinity and basically whether or not I think it's real. I was going to steel man both sides of the arguments and then give my opinion. And I wrote a 6 to 7 page script for it, so I'm definitely not going to just throw all that work away. I'm still going to make that video. But something has been weighing on my mind lately. Social media has kind of amplified how much I've been thinking about it. So I'm going to make a video about that. And this one is not scripted, so I'm sorry, but the next one should be. So, J.K. Rowling and the controversy around her and her transgender stance. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So I'm going to make this into 2 parts because it's going to be long. But first of all, I just want to say thank you to anybody who is watching this who is inclined to disagree with me. Anybody who's watching this who has an open mind. Thank you for having an open mind and being willing to put your biases aside and hear me out. That's what everybody, left, right, center, and even people who aren't political, when you have a conversation with someone, you should always enter it with an open mind and being willing to admit and see that you could be wrong and to think that the other person could be right. It's a narcissistic personality trait to never be able to admit that or be open to admitting that. So what I'm going to be doing in this video, in this 2-part video, is honestly, I'm going to read the essay that J.K. Rowling wrote regarding why she tweeted the things she did, why she liked certain things, and why she has the stance that she does. And the reason why I'm reading this, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The reason that I'm reading this is because I don't think most of you who are calling her transphobic have actually read it. That's why. And the people who have read it, I think a lot of them are kind of, from what I've seen people do, they've kind of inflicted their own view of what they already think she believes onto what she says. You know, they're seeing what they think they're going to see. You know, they're finding what they're looking for. Because if you go in already looking for something, you will find it. If you go in already looking for a transphobic statement, you'll find it. And this, any kind of thing like that. If you're going in, you'll find it. And, I mean, it's totally possible. Maybe she's transphobic. It's a possibility. But I don't think so. It's not my opinion that she is. But please have an open mind with this. It's a very long essay, but I did read it twice. And, I think she makes a lot of good points. She makes, in my opinion, good points regarding not just how the transgender movement has affected everyone else, but how it's affected transgender people as well, themselves, individual people. So, now, before I read the essay, I'm going to, I don't usually like to say this because in my experience, a lot of people who talk like this are not like this at all, really. And it's the kind of the people you kind of have to watch out for sometimes, but I am an empathetic person. Empathy is one of the strongest personality traits that I have. Every therapist I've ever had has noted this. A lot of people who are close to me understand that this is just one of my traits. I'm not saying that to get praise. I'm saying that to let you guys know that my stance on this and my beliefs on this is not coming from a place of ill intent. It's not coming from a place of not being compassionate. It's not coming from a place of being hateful and bigoted. Okay, I have reasons for why I think this, and if you're an open-minded person, I ask you to just hear me out. Transgender or cisgender, whatever you are, please hear me out. I care about this issue just as much as anyone who's talking about them. It's not meant to be violent, and it's not violent because speech isn't violence, but it's not meant to be hurtful to people. So, I'm going to read her essay. I think I'm going to do that in the next video because this is going to be a 2-part video, but I'm just making this video so that when you go to the next video, you guys will hopefully have cleared your head. I ask you to just clear your head, be in an unbiased space, try to be open. I do that same thing. The reasons, people don't understand this. They think that I just believe things because that's like the circle that I'm in or the way I grew up. Like, no. Like, my beliefs change a lot. Like, some of my strongest beliefs have changed dramatically. Now, my values are pretty much still the same. I still believe in equality and equal rights and things like that. But where I thought that my values stood have changed. The people who I think are actually have my values have changed. And it's because I'm open to new evidence, it's because I'm open to admitting that I'm wrong, that I change so much. There are times when I was more left on the political spectrum and then I became more right. And then there was a time within, I'd say the past few months where I was like, okay, I think I'm becoming too right. I was never like alt-right, like I was never like bigoted or anything, despite what people believe, but it was just like I was going into another echo chamber. And I was like, okay, I believe in evidence. I believe in truth. I believe in reasons to believe whichever. I don't believe in lies. And lies are everywhere, the left and the right. And so for a while then, I had to step back and like try to clear my head, make sure I'm not too much in an echo chamber, left or right. And so the one thing I've learned this year is be careful not to leave one echo chamber just to enter another one. Always be willing to admit you're wrong. And I did believe that. That's why I changed. But I did fall into another echo chamber, and that's not good. And so basically what I'm saying is if people accuse me, which people have, of just not being willing to admit that I'm wrong or of being biased or bigoted, like the reason, like, of being judgmental, like anyone who was friends with me on Facebook before I was more outspoken about my political beliefs knew that I was already someone who talked about things that I believed. When I was posting more, when I was outspoken about my left-leaning beliefs, nobody called me judgmental. It was only when I was outspoken about my right-leaning beliefs. So maybe it's not that I'm not willing to admit I'm wrong. Maybe it's just that you don't like that I don't think the evidence lands on your side on a specific issue. I've always been outspoken about my beliefs. It's just this time people don't like it. So anyway, that's in defense of me, but this isn't, I'm going off track. So anyway, my point is I just believe in evidence, and you know, sometimes things happen, there's no evidence, I understand that, but I believe in truth, and no matter where it lands, I don't care. I believe in what is true. And right now, there's a lot of what is just blatantly false that is going around. And one specific issue that is the controversy with J.K. Rowling. So I'm going to post that after. And then I'm going to read it. I'm literally going to read it off because I don't think if I didn't read it that people would go read it. It's a long essay. I read it twice. I'm going to read it again to you guys. It's going to be a little weird maybe because I'm just going to be reading into the camera, but I want you guys to hear a human voice and have a human face to it. Like, it's not my words, obviously. J.K. Rowling is the one who wrote it. But it's a lot easier to be automatically turned off to something when you don't see a face or hear their voice. Like, it's a lot easier to have prejudice against a person when it's just on paper. Whereas if you hear words and the way they speak, you might see, like, maybe they have a point. And so I'm not J.K. Rowling, obviously, but I'm going to try to give the essay justice as much as I can. That's the reason I'm going to read it, is because I just want people to hear it. I just want people to be able to have an open mind when they read it. Okay, so if there's one thing I ask of you, just please have an open mind as I do. I'm not a perfect person, so obviously I make mistakes, and sometimes I give in to biases and I don't realize it, and then that's the point of keeping biases in check, right? And that's the point of being, that's what it is to be human. It's to make mistakes and be able to admit to it and change, and make mistakes again and be able to admit to it and change. That's just what it means. We can't expect perfection out of people. And so just be open-minded to seeing that maybe you could be wrong. Or maybe you could be hateful. I mean, to be honest, like, There are moments where I look back from a couple years ago at a certain time in a class when we had a political debate or something, and maybe like there's honestly specific incidents where I think back and I just think like I kind of cringe because I'm like I can't believe I said something that hateful, and a lot of times it was towards a conservative. I was never like blatantly like you're a terrible person, but it was just like it was such a pretentious attitude, and I'm willing to admit that because I believe that we're better off admitting where we're wrong than living in a lie. Um, Even if it means we have to admit that we've been living in a lie for a long time. I mean, would you rather live in a lie the rest of your life too? Or would you rather spend the rest of your life searching for truth then? Anyway, my point is, please hear me out. And this isn't coming from a place of hate. This is coming from a place of love and wanting to make positive change. So just hear me out. That's all I ask.